Welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. This is where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What is up, everybody? Good to see you again. We are back. We're going to finish up some more. We're actually going to finish up the RuneQuest RPG tonight with a report card. We're going to give it the final grades and see how it does overall. It's funny because I was just trying to get my stream all together. And I noticed, oh crap, I've got my yesterday's stream like thumbnail image up there. I got to change that real quick. So yeah, sorry, this is the report card. This is not the Between Adventures one. That was yesterday. So yeah, I changed my streaming schedule around. Now I'm streaming on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And so yeah, you can catch me here every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 5 o'clock Central, where I'm going to be going over awesome RPGs and doing some interviews and things like that. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button for me. I'd appreciate it. Share the stream. That always helps out. I like seeing new faces around here. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for me. And I always like seeing comments. A lot of you people are posting comments on the YouTube page, and I really like that. And I'm always, real quick, I get notified. So I'm like, oh, what's everybody saying? So I really like that. So thank you so much for the comments and kind words. All right, let's dive right in. What do you say? We were talking about some more of the RuneQuest. There we go. RuneQuest RPG. I'm going to be flipping back and forth from the report card to the book just a little bit every once in a while. So let's see how we did on the report card. Let's start off with the character section, which we always do. And in character creation, RuneQuest got a 9 out of 10. And if you remember character creation in RuneQuest, it's pretty darn straightforward. I mean, there's 8 different steps to starting your character. You choose your homeland, your family history, your rune affinities, your characteristics, your occupation, your cult. You kind of do your personal skill bonuses, and then kind of your other information where you kind of pick your age and some other things like that. Now, what I really enjoyed about the character creation part is the family history section. Now, I'm going to open this book up for you here real quick, because this was really neat. Because when you do your family and everything, they have these events like that happen every so often. And what you do is you go through each event, like this says in the year 1582. This happens. Okay, what was this? Battle of Grizzly Peak. And what you do is you just see if your homeland, where you just picked where you came from, if your homeland was in this battle. And if so, then you're going to make a roll and see what happens to you or to your family in this case. Like I think it's your grandparents is what it starts off with. Then it gets to your parents, and then you. So you get to see kind of what your grandparents went through. I just think that's really, really cool because some of the things give you some results. Like I think this one right here says your grandparents witnessed whatever this where this prince took over. If lunar Tarshite, meaning your homeland, your grandparent retreated home, or your grandparent might have died in battle. Or maybe your grandparent died with great glory, and so you're going to gain the honor passion, and a D3% reputation, 1d3% of your reputation. So you're going to get some reputation just because of this one battle, and you're going to go through. It's got one on each. Each of these events has their own little roll chart, if you will, that you just kind of roll the D20. And it's going to tell you what happened, and then you roll in the results. And some of them are going to affect you. Some of them might make you hate a certain group, or love a certain group, or have some type of positive reputation, or even a negative reputation. Right? I just think that's awesome. And you're going to roll and do this for each one of your for your grandparents. Then you're going to get to your parents' history, and do the same for them. And then finally, you're going to get to your own history and do the same for that. And I just think that's just really, really neat. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I had any more notes on this. So yeah, basically you can just gain these different types of effects that's gonna make your character different. It's gonna make it to where your parents and your grandparents had some type of effect on you, just like it does in real life. If your grandfather was very well known because of his role in this great battle. Well, it makes sense that your parents and you would be kind of known for that as well. And so I just really like that. It just brings my character to life and gives it some type of real history that affects my character, one or two generations later. And I just think that's awesome that they did that. So character creation was really cool. So they got a 9 out of 10. Let's move down to the character customization. So when you create a character in RuneQuest, the customization process really starts right away. Because, right off the bat, you're going to choose your homeland, where you're from. And that's going to kind of make some things different for you versus somebody else that chooses a different homeland, like the types of occupations that are there, the kind of cults that can be found around there and things like that. So yeah, from the different homelands, and then your family history that you go right into, like I said, that can be make you totally different than somebody else that even came from the same homelands. The different rune affinities that are out there, the different cults to choose from, all these things kind of ensure that your character is going to be wildly different than somebody else's. And I think that's awesome. What I wanted to show you in this section, though, was really cool, is the cults. And remember, I said it's not bad to join a cult in RuneQuest. Actually, it's great if you do. If you don't, you're actually going to be at a disadvantage if you don't use any magic or you don't join cults. Of course, I guess you could do that, but you're going to be at a real disadvantage. Now, there are tons and tons of different cults, and there's pages of these different cults that you can choose from. They each have their own gods that they kind of worship, right? And each one has their own unique skills and rune affinities and things like that. The different types of spirit magics and things like that associated with it. They have like this one gets axe plus 15%, two-handed axe. Two-handed axe. That's a big axe. You get 20% to intimidate, 10%. So it's going to give you different skills and give you skill bonuses as well to certain types. Then you're going to find out like what kind of special rune magic they have, what their cult spirit magic is, their favorite passions, and then also any type of associated cults with them. Some of them do have notes, like this one has only women can join this cult. And so, yeah, just neat stuff in there that adds a whole lot of flavor to you and ensures really that your character is going to be completely different from anybody else's. So I just like that the different cults are going to have all these different things for you to do. Hello, I'll get to the right page here eventually. Come on. All right, there we go. So yeah, customization is pretty darn cool. I gave it a 9 out of 10 because it's like virtually impossible to make your character like someone else's. Now I think you see that in a lot of games where, this tank is almost identical to this tank, or this wizard is almost identical to this wizard. And you definitely don't have that in RuneQuest, which I really, really enjoy. All right, let's move along. Let's get on to character progression. All right. And it got an 8 out of 10. Now, progression of your character in RuneQuest is handled a little bit differently than most RPGs that we've looked at to this date. The most important, or the biggest thing that you're going to notice right off the bat is there's no experience points, right? Most of the time you do something during your adventure and the GM likes it and they go, hey, Tim, have some experience points, and I get to spend those on stuff, right? Well, RuneQuest doesn't have that at all. Instead, what they do is they offer you other ways to increase like your skills and abilities, because that's basically what leveling is anyway, right? You're just increasing your skills and abilities. So you don't have to say, hey, I'm level 11. Like nobody says that in the real life. Like I don't say, hey, I'm level 44. I'm 44 years old. Like it doesn't tell anybody anything, because my skills and abilities are so different than somebody else that is 44 years old. The same, it's kind of just as silly as saying, hey, I'm level 11 in RuneQuest. Well, what's your skills and abilities up to? Because that's really what the difference is, right? What are your top skills? What are your top magic? And that's really what matters. That's what makes your character a character, right? And so they give you these different ways to level up these skills and abilities. And first of that is when they give, if you look on your character sheet next to your skill or ability that you want to level up, you'll notice if there's a little bitty checkbox, little blank checkbox right next to it, well, that means that it can be leveled up through these in-game attempts. And what this is if you do something really cool, or have like a clutch save and using this ability or skill, then the GM is going to tell you to check that little box next to that skill or ability. And so what this is going to do is allow you or give you the opportunity to increase your skill percentage after the adventure. If you remember that Between Adventures stream yesterday, we talked about Sacred Time. And that's where you get to go through and roll on each one of those little checks that you got and see how much your skill or ability is going to level up. And I just think that's awesome. But that's not the only way that you can level up a skill or an ability. You can also increase your skill percentages through training. And it's usually done through an NPC. And there are limits on how high you can raise it up. Like I think once you get up to 75% in a skill or an ability, you can't raise it any higher through training. But it does help you get some skill ups kind of early on until you hit that 75%. You definitely want to be training with NPCs when you can. And then finally, you can also get skill ups through research. And this is sort of like the self-taught method. Now, you don't get the opportunity to really skill up very fast this way because you get less percentage, like for a successful research skill up versus like an in-game, like awesome clutch experience. So you might only get, a point or maybe even 2 points doing it in this way. But if you take advantage of the in-game percentage, like clutch move, awesome check the box thing, along with the train, getting trained by an NPC and the research, then you're going to start to level up your runes and your abilities and your skills a lot faster. Like every point is going to help and it's going to all add up, right? So be sure to do that when you're playing the game. But really cool system. I really like that you could skill up in this way, these different ways, and it wasn't just very linear the way that they did it. So yeah, overall character section got a 9 out of 10. I thought they did a really good job with it. Now in mechanics, they got an 8 out of 10. In the ease section, they got a 7 out of 10. The mechanics in RuneQuest, they are fairly simple to learn. It uses the percentile system for skill checks, so pretty much everything is in percentage points. If your lockpick skill is 40, then you have a 40% chance to succeed when you try to pick a lock, right? That makes sense. And what they do here is they use what's called a D100, which is 2 D10s rolled. You roll 2 D10s to get this number between 1 and 100. Now, the first dice that you roll, how they do this, the first dice that you roll is going to be the tens column, right? The second dice that you roll is going to be your ones column. And so let's just say I roll a 7 on my first dice. I know I'm going to be rolling 70 something, right? And then I roll my second dice and I get a 3. That means that I rolled a 73. Very, very simple. I can even understand it. So I like that. Now, what the book does not do a good job of is really telling you how that roll translates into a success or failure. And if you've never played a percentile system like me, then you don't know really how it works. And I need clear, step-by-step instructions. It seems that several areas in the book kind of assumed that I knew what I was doing, kind of similar to this. And that's why I got dinged a few points. Really wish it would have said, hey, Tim, dummy, you need to roll. I'm assuming that you roll under a 35. If I have a 35% chance, I would roll below a 35 for it to be a success, right? That makes sense to me. But it didn't necessarily say that anywhere in the book. I just kind of had to go, okay, well, that makes sense. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about. So anyway, that's why I got dinged just a couple points on this ease factor. I think they could have made it a little bit more, a little bit more noob friendly, I guess. So there you go. Now, in the originality and cool factor, they got an 8 out of 10. Now, I mean, honestly, how can an RPG made in 1978 not get some points in an originality, right? I mean, they're one of the originals. These guys were some of the first around, and they seriously paved the way for RPGs for generations to come. They've changed the landscape for RPGs for sure. And I think a lot of people and a lot of games get their influences either knowingly or unknowingly from games like RuneQuest. And but some of the things that I really enjoyed in this game are the magic and also that between adventure activities part. That was pretty cool. But the magic is really awesome. It's very creative. Like I said during the stream when I talked about magic, it really got my creative juices flowing. So much, though, that if you remember, I actually kind of started typing out a little scenario about the magic I was reading about right then and there. Like I had to stop what I was doing and write this out. And it's always just an awesome sign when an RPG makes you creative like that. And this book did that for me. And that's just awesome. Now, between the, let me pull up my thing over here. Okay. Now, between the adventure section at the end of the book, those activities that you do after the adventure, this is also really cool to me. And I haven't seen it in other RPGs up to this point. Definitely not to this extent anyways. So I like the idea. This is where you're going to like roll for those skill checkbox, skill ups that you get. You're going to roll those after the adventure. And then you get to figure out like how well your harvest did, and if you got raided or invaded or anything like that, how bad it was, how much income that you're going to receive, and that type of stuff. And that just was really, really cool to me. It made me look forward to the adventure ending. Not like I'm happy that it ended, but just that when the adventure is over, it's kind of a bummer, right? Everybody's like, well, okay, I guess we'll go home now. Well, no, actually, you still have some things to do, and it's almost like a cool down. Like if you're a runner and you go on this really hard run, and then you kind of walk like the last couple blocks, and that just kind of let your body cool down. And it's kind of like this emotionally for an RPG, right? You kind of like the cool down period, where after your adventure, it's not just like, all right, everybody splits. No, you got some things to do and some upkeep to do with your RPG, your character and everything still after the adventure. And I just think that's a lot of fun. So I got an 8 out of 10 for that originality and cool factor. Plus, they paved the freaking way. How awesome is that? Now let's look at their depth on mechanics. Now, they got a 10 out of 10. The depth in this game just seemed about perfect for me. The depth of skills and magic, and especially the combat was just where it needs to be without being too complicated, right? Some of these get really crazy complicated, like just trying to be difficult, right? This one didn't do that. Like the choices they made in combat especially were logical, and I could follow the reasoning why, right? So like if I'm laying prone and somebody comes up next to me, with a bat, they're going to be able to hit me easier, right? And that makes sense to me. I can understand why my defensive is going to go down against melee attacks. I can understand that. And so the depth to me, like all of it was very logical and just made a lot of sense, and it wasn't overly complicated. So they got a 10 out of 10 for depth, which gave them a total of 8 out of 10 for the mechanics. So pretty strong score there. Now moving along to the narrative. So the storyline in RuneQuest is pretty darn cool. I like the idea that it takes place in like this Bronze Age, right? I think it's, it just kind of flash back into this old world makes this magic just seem, I don't know, a little bit cooler to me. And there's these like gods and demigods, and they're all real in this world, and pretty much everyone worships one or more of them, right? Well, what's cool about this is this allows like religion and factions to play this very large role in Glorantha. And that's very similar to how religion and factions have played a huge role in our history as well. And I really like that they did that. They didn't try to force this really weird narrative on it. It's something that we could actually relate to, and I think that's cool. And the idea that magic is everywhere is just a ton of fun. It seems like I think some games kind of minimize magic. Like there's like, okay, it's okay for magic, but not that much. But in RuneQuest, they don't do that. They celebrate magic and they put it everywhere. And so it just seems like it would be an awesome, really cool world to play around in, where you're not really limited to anything except for your imagination. And so I really dig that. They got a 9 out of 10 for their narrative. Now let's look at their value. In content, they got a 6 out of 10. Now this is the worst category for RuneQuest. The book is gigantic. It's over 440 pages, and they spend a lot of that space telling you about the different types of magic that you're going to both wield and run into in Glorantha. But what I would really like to see here is a GM guide in the book. There's nothing in here at all. And because there's so many people that are getting into RPGs nowadays, and a lot are trying to GM for the first time. And a GM guide can really help them along that path, especially with a game as popular as RuneQuest. And it seems like people are going to get here pretty pretty much whatever path they take down the RPG world, you're going to run into like Dungeons and Dragons and RuneQuest and some of these giants over the years. You're going to eventually get there. And I think they should keep that in mind, that people might be coming here and playing this for the first time, their first RPG, or maybe this is their first time GMing. And I would just like to see them kind of guide those players a little bit better. And another thing that I mentioned earlier is that the book seemed to assume that I knew a lot about RPGs when I'm reading it. And if you all know me, which you do, that's not true. I don't know a lot about RPGs. I read a lot of them, right? But I don't have 30, 40 years of experience, and especially with different systems. And so I wish they would just spend a little bit more time to kind of spell things out for us newbies, just a little bit more. So, because here's what ends up happening. Like, I ended up reading... I kind of have to read through the lines a lot and just kind of figure things out for myself. Like, do I roll under the percentage on a skill on a D100? Now, it seems like I would, but the book really just never spelt it out for me. And there are other things in the book exactly like that, that aren't exactly newbie friendly. And I just think it could be spelled out a little bit more for my liking, So I don't know, take it for what you will. That's what I think. Also, there's no bestiary in here. There's no adventure in the book. I've got to have some type of adventure to start off with. Look, I'm sure that there's probably like 100 books out there of bestiaries and adventures that you can buy for RuneQuest. But I just have to go on what is in this core book that I have available to me for my report card. That's how I always do it. So if it came in a package deal, then that'd be different. But this was just sold as a one book thing. Like, I would just need this book. And I would just like to see a little small adventure or scenario or something would really help that a lot. So they got beat up on that one a little bit. They got a 6 out of 10. Not horrible, but could have been better. Now, let's look at the artwork. Got a 9 out of 10. So the artwork in this book is outstanding. Let me flip to my book here. It's outstanding. I mean, there's tons of full color art. There's black and white art. It's really sharp. The pages aren't too glossy. You can see like the little bit of gloss on here. It's not overly glossy, making some of those books I've read are just crazy glossy and like the glare is horrible. This one's not like it. It was very much a pleasure to read. They didn't skimp out on the art either. There's plenty of it where it needs to be, but it's not like shoved in every little nook and cranny either. So it really makes it easy to read. And also gives you some pictures to kind of let you kind of cue your imagination on where to go next. So I really dig that. So yeah, just awesome stuff. Let's see. I did want to say something else about the art. Yeah, there's like this old school flair to the art, but it doesn't look old, if that makes any sense. It doesn't look like it's out of 1970s or 80s. It looks like new art, but it's got like an old school flair to it. I don't know how else to put it. I can't put my finger on why it feels that way to me, but it just feels comfortable. It almost feels like I'm familiar with the art somehow, even though like I've never seen it before. And I don't know what is triggering that in me. Maybe it's like an art style or something, but it just looks familiar, if that makes sense. So yeah, really cool stuff. So they got a 9 out of 10 for their artwork. Now let's move on to the final section here, which is the layout. They got a 9 out of 10 for layout. The book is very well done. The font is easy to read. The pages aren't too glossy, like I said. There are plenty of charts throughout the book that makes it easy to refer to things at a glance, which I love. But yeah, they just did a really good job on the graphic design and the layout. Things were in order where I thought that they needed to be. I didn't see like a lot of sections that were out of place, like I see in almost every single book that I've read. There's been several sections out of place. Not in this book. It really seemed like everything was in order for the most part, and just really well done. You can tell it's been edited a whole lot. Like, people have looked through this and said, hey, you ought to change this or that. It's really had the eyes on it. You can just tell. So really great job on the layout. They got a 9 out of 10. Which brings us to our overall score. Let's bring that up. The overall score, it comes out to an 8.5 out of 11. Now, there's a reason why this book has been out for 40 years, right? It's just really good. I mean, there's a few things that I would personally change, but there's nothing drastic at all. I would definitely make it more newbie friendly for those that are just entering the RPG market. I think the book has the right amount of ease to it, and the mechanics have the right amount of ease to it to pick up, fairly quickly, but also has plenty of depth to be able to play this game for years. And if it's not on your bookshelf, bottom line, if it's not on your bookshelf, then go ahead and just pick it up. It's a great read. The art's awesome. And yeah, there's a game in there that's pretty freaking cool. So yeah, grab it, man. You won't be disappointed at all. It's definitely a very sturdy book and lots and lots of material to read through. And it'll just get your creative juices flowing, which is just great. When a RPG gets you writing or drawing or sketching or brain going, it's a great book. And this one definitely did that for me several times. So definitely a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. One of my favorites that I've done so far, for sure. Recommend it to anybody. Grab it. All right, that's about it for me, and that's it for RuneQuest. They did pretty good on the report card, I gotta say. I don't know what's up for Monday. Might have a new RPG. We might be doing an interview, maybe. I don't know. We've got to try to figure it out. So we got some time before then. But I hope everybody just has a great weekend and the rest of their week. And we will see you all on Monday. All right. Bye.